So I just watched the agenda part 3, and is it still weird to anybody else to see G1 characters done in 90s CGI, or is it just me? Also known as holy expletive I can't say on YouTube without getting demonetized. This is what the entirety of 2 seasons worth of storytelling has led up to. This is the grand play that Megatron has been putting off and trying to avoid, but now there is no choice. Megatron is going to make the ultimate gamble, and the Maximals can only chase him down and hope that they get there in time before he rolls those dice. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, before we get into that whole meat of the episode, what we need to talk about, of course, is the culmination of Ravage. I'm actually surprised he dies so quickly in part 3. So if you think about it, he's only around for half of part 1, and he dies a third of the way through part 3. So we actually have Ravage around for less than 2 episodes. It's kind of amazing. He has such an impact and is so popular despite having such a brief amount of screen time. It would have been interesting to see him stick around longer, I think. I think he would have made a really interesting wrinkle in the Beast Wars. I think it's also BS how he died, because Rat Trap makes an actually super cool play to board the ship and get inside. But it's so unlike how he was when the show started. It's a super cool moment to see. He's come a long way. Give him credit. But no matter how far he's come, it still ultimately comes down to Tarantulas and Rat Trap. Though I do think this might be the last time I get to make that comparison. I can't remember a point beyond this in season 3 where the two actually have a major altercation with each other. Rat Trap lobs a couple sticky bombs at his hands. I'm finally, he used them on somebody offensively. It was nice to finally just stick them on somebody. Doesn't that make sense? So, the explosion is right next to the core of the ship where Tarantulas is. So Tarantulas is right at the core of the explosion on this ship. Ravage is at the far side of the ship in the cockpit. Ravage dies in the explosion. Tarantulas does not. It's bizarre. It's really unfortunate. It feels really weird that that's how that went down. I feel like Ravage should have easily survived this. Maybe he did. Maybe there's a story out there where he did. Well, I know there's a Predacons agent storyline. Don't get me wrong, but still, it's weird. It's just a weird thing. But here's what strikes us as weird. When that is resolved, and that resolution also comes with most of the Predacons getting defeated in one way or another. Every other Predacon is incapacitated at this point. Waspinator caught a stasis pod up the butt. Inferno nearly got disintegrated. Rampage got a massive missile straight to the face. Rampage ran over a quick strike in the process. And Tarantulas got blown up. And then Black Arachnia, of course, is doing her own thing. So right now, Megatron is the only active Predacon, and he's not going back to base. Once we hit the first commercial break of the episode, the entire thing shifts. It feels like a completely different episode is now going on. And what we saw as this weird B-plot with only vague explanation of what's going on has now become the center plot as Black Arachnia and Silverbolt uncover the Ark. The G1 Ark. And there is such appropriate there's a respect to it. There's reverence to the reveal of the Autobot spaceship and the flashback of what happened during the landing on Earth. Now, you know, maybe, well, actually, no, not thinking about it. I was going to say slightly inaccurate, but no, they got attacked, they got boarded, and yeah. So, really interesting, really, and actually kind of cool to see, like, even if it's just, like, super low res models, and they only had a few Autobots in view, it was definitely cool back then to actually see the original Transformers in CGI, and actually, like, and get confirmation that, like, they are gigantic compared to our Beast Wars cast, which makes sense. You know, they're trying to hide themselves as, like, normal-sized animals. But this wraps up another plot thread from part 2. We found out that Megatron found the Ark and then blasted it shut. And he did it so with a missile, which he hasn't fired since season 1. So Megatron, for at least a season and, a chunk, has known about this since early in the Beast Wars. But he didn't do anything with it. Which is... it's confusing. It's fascinating. And we're going to find out why. We're going to find out why toward the end. Let's see. If I'm trying to read this. There is a note here where the writers kind of got confused about the Great Cybertronian War. Throughout the series, they constantly refer to the Great Wars beginning when the Autobots and Decepticons wake up on Earth. But we know that in G1 continuity to be the Third Cybertronian War, which actually began on Cybertron when Optimus Prime came to power. That was the beginning of the Third Cybertronian War, which continued all the way through the entirety of the G1 cartoon. Continuity gaffe, whatever. Maximals, Predacons may just view history differently. We don't know. Worth noting, though. Worth noting, just to pay attention. It's this scene, like, Megatron shows up at appropriately dramatic timing. And what's fascinating about this is it's here where we find out just how in control Megatron was from the very beginning, even as he was captured. We see where he fed Tarantulas false information to create a trap for the Maximals. We saw where he kept the disc that allowed him to talk his way out of Ravage's holding cell. We saw him blatantly give Waspinator instructions on arriving at the Ark's coordinates, with Black Arachnia very present for it, and he knew Black Arachnia was present for it. I mean, it's the Ark. Why would he tell Waspinator to go to those coordinates? It's Waspinator. Why would he be trusted with something this big? He's not. His only purpose for doing that, his only intention for ordering Waspinator there, was to give that information to Black Arachnia. That way she would be there right at the time he needed her there. Because along with all of this, he knows she has the codes from downloading his backup tracks. Everything, right down to how the Maximals behaved. There's a moment in part 1 where he tells Inferno to not even bother with the scanners. And there's something weird, is that it felt like Megatron didn't even put up that big of a fight when the Maximals attacked. Almost as if getting captured was part of the plan. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But again, even when he was behind bars, he was calm, he was manipulative, he knew exactly what was going on and how to play it. Like, this is the best Megatron. This is best Megatron. This is just the best Megatron. And it's shown again when he's not interested in holding Black Arachnia hostage to get the codes. Nope. Cannon pointed at Silverbolt. Had her read like a book. So it wasn't just Primal who knew something was going on between the two. And now is the real test. Does she actually care? Well, there's a little duress, a little bit of need to get to cover, but She is willing to risk Megatron gaining the power of the Ark to save Silverbolt, which is pretty significant. So yeah, turns out she's on the level. She actually does care about our Fusor buddy. It's a desperate time to actually figure that out, but hey, whatever it takes sometimes. It's just Megatron at his best. It's just Megatron at its absolute best. Now, all this while, Primal's being extremely dramatic. Extremely dramatic. He's going on about the entire universe depending on keeping Megatron out of the Ark. And it seems like he's the only one that seems like aware of the significance of like just how important this is. There's a line in the midst of this where they're trying to gain access to the Ark, where like they're focusing all their fire and not putting any damage on it. And Rat Trap is commenting that like it's not built, it's poured to indicate just how solid it is. And one of my favorite lines, Primal going, "Die-cast construction. It's a lost art." I have my problems with die-cast, but you know what? That's a classic line. That's a classic reference. While they're getting in, Megatron is very slowly flying his way through the hull of the Ark. And there's almost a reverence. There's almost like, there's a bit of like Megatron is taken aback by where he is. You know? And we find out through his monologue what is going on. The instructions by G1 Megatron was to use transwarp technology to go to the past and destroy the Autobots before they woke up in 1984. Completely alter the future so that there is no way the Autobots could have won. Huge risk. It shows a lot about how calculating Megatron is when he learns of this plan, uses the ruse of we're going to go find Energon as a way of gaining troops to steal the disc and then provide cannon fodder for the journey. And ultimately disregard the instructions. We know he had access to the Ark, but he didn't take it. He could have done this any time. He chose not to because of how big of a risk it is. You make that big of a change to the time stream, you don't even know if you're going to survive. It's butterfly effect, you know? So he wanted to avoid this. He comes up with a plan to destroy the proto-humans instead, which to him still leads to a Decepticon victory, but also does not completely undo, like, who would survive the war between Autobot and Decepticon. He viewed it as a lower risk that would still accomplish the plan. So when Inferno in Part 1 informs him it's impossible to actually carry out now, he's left with no plan. He's left with no choice but to follow G1 Megatron's instructions. Ironic that through all of this, G1 Megatron is still the one pulling strings, even this far after his defeat. I guess every Megatron ends up being manipulative and calculating at some point. But yeah, it shows how smart of a character he is, that he tried to avoid it and could not, but now he's willing to play that card. He's willing to roll those dice. Whew. It's intense. Like just like the way he's speaking and how grand he is making this. Like you get how dangerous of a situation this is. And the Maximals don't even come close. They don't even get in the door. They can't even like make like a heroic charge into the Ark to stop him. He does it. He blows up the head, or burns out the head of the original Optimus Prime. We're going to ignore the countless paradoxes he has created here. And like he has no idea how history is going to change. Apparently played to his favor, because this is like adversely affecting the Maximals dramatically while he is just calmly walking through the time store and flaunting his victory. So it seems like the gamble paid off. whatever he did, the Predacons and he survive. And it's the Maximals who are now fading from existence. It's huge. It's like the biggest stakes I've ever seen in any show. And that's how we end the season? It's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's an amazing finale. The 3 episodes together tell this amazing story and just show just how dangerous and intelligent this Megatron is from beginning to end. And that final play just cements it all. Easily a masterful episode. A trio of episodes that is just like some of the best storytelling Transformers ever went through. And guess what? We're not done. We're not done. Next time, we're going to talk about Season 3's opener. And it takes place right after this. So technically, we have a 4-part story here. And the conclusion's coming up. So thank you guys for watching through the day's videos. Whew. A lot to go through. And a lot to talk about. This show, hey guys, guess what? It turns out the show's pretty good. And there's a lot to talk about. So, we'll talk about it some more next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.